This is part 2 in my series about the Infinity Killer. I'm about to summarize the previous video for context, but if you want all the details, I recommend you watch that video first at the top right corner or the link in the description. Alright, here we go. Summary mode. According to an old newspaper clipping, the Infinity Murders occurred in Sandy Shores in the year 1999 and were perpetrated by one Merle Abrahams, targeting athletes on a group run. The 8 victims were never found. Yet. In the surrounding area, the player can find clues leading to the place where Merle died. Cell block 9A at Bolingbroke Prison. On a wall in the yard is scrawled a map which, when lined up with this northern peninsula, hints at the area where all 8 of the missing bodies are found. But I don't think Merle did it. The more likely culprit is Eddie Lowe, a serial killer from GTA 4. The main piece of evidence for this connection is the fact that Eddie Lowe has a particular fascination with killing joggers, which happens to be the Infinity Killer's exact MO. Oh, and by the way, there's also a serial killer in Red Dead 2 named Edmund Lowry, who also kills joggers. But here's where it gets messy. If we use mods to look underneath the wrap, the model for these sunken bodies clearly has an 8 carved into it, despite not being visible without mods. It's silly to add detail where you don't expect it to be seen, so we can be reasonably certain that Rockstar had expected people to be snooping around in this way and had left clues under the wrap. But if that's the case, why did they choose to make the bodies female? After all, the Infinity Killer supposedly killed a group of men, not women. Whether this was intentional or an oversight, it blew the lid off of the Infinity Killer mystery, and nobody's really been able to come to a satisfying conclusion since. Nobody had any good answers for why the bodies are female. Rockstar continued to egg us on by putting an infinity symbol in the Doomsday mural, a giant collection of symbols which represents Rockstar's biggest acknowledgement of the Easter egg hunting community in GTA's history. It contains references to dozens of small mysteries throughout the game, such as the secret Bigfoot peyote or the Chiliad mural. But the presence of all of them here together, in my opinion, is a message from Rockstar. A hint that these individual mysteries are linked by a common cause or a source of some kind. Okay, summary over. After I published that video, I got all sorts of comments with advice and criticism alike. The most common objection was people saying that GTA and Red Dead don't take place in the same universe, so therefore the Eddie Lowe-Edmund connection is nothing more than an homage. A lot of people refer to the fact that New York exists in Red Dead while it's called Liberty City in the GTA universe. But in reality, it's not that simple. Among other numerous cross-franchise connections, perhaps the most damning of them is the fact that in GTA 4, we can find a mention of the state of Florida, despite the GTA recreation of Florida being called Leonida. It seems like in Rockstar's unique canon, parodies of locations like Leonida from GTA or Lemoyne from Red Dead exist not in replacement of their source location, but alongside them. You also have to consider details such as this one, found around El Rubio's compound on Cayo Perico, are photos of the German family from RDR2. But that's not all. When you meet El Rubio for the first time, he says this.
My oppa was German, must be why I love the techno.
This isn't just a trivial Easter egg, it's a direct familial link from one Rockstar franchise to the other. This is El Rubio's family. If you're still not convinced, these and more pieces of evidence for a shared universe are covered in Strange Man's video on the topic. For the sake of this video, I hope you'll just agree it's safe to assume the games are in the same universe. Or at least, multiverse. Speaking of Cayo Perico, another one of the most common critiques I got is that I neglected to talk about the other set of 8 underwater bodies that can be found near the Cayo compound. This was news to me. It turns out that there are indeed 8 bodies scattered around outside the drainage tunnel entrance to the island, and they do use the same models as the original set, down to the 8s carved in the stomach. But that's not even the only thing on this island that parallels the Infinity Murders. During one of the setup missions for the Cayo Perico heist, you need to board a Merryweather submarine and find a sonar jammer. On that submarine, in the brig, the message, "Can you find me?" is scrawled on the wall. As we know, the Infinity Killer is well known for writing on walls in this fashion. But here's the thing, he's not the only one. If we jump over to GTA Online and head over to this big brick building, nothing looks particularly suspicious at first. But if we take a closer look, can you find me? This is the exact same texture as the writing inside the submarine. But this time, we can inspect the clue, and we are told that we've discovered 1 out of 5 clues. The other 5 are hidden around Blaine County. At the airfield, a severed human hand. At this old barn, a bloody machete stuck in a wall. At Bayview Lodge, a bloody handprint. The 5th and final clue is difficult to find as it has a chance to spawn in one of 5 different locations. For me, it was behind some train tracks. Second place I looked. What you'll find is a van, the inside filled with evidence of a brutal murder. Then and only then will you receive a text message from an unknown number.
I'm sick of you sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong. Now I'm not going to lie. What happens next won't be nice for you.
The following night, as long as you're in Blaine County, a hillbilly wearing a blood-stained, or perhaps ketchup-stained, tank top will come at you with yet another machete. He's slightly more difficult to kill than a normal NPC, although not significantly, and pretty soon you'll have him down for the count. Once he's dead, you'll have a new gun in your inventory, the Navy revolver. It's adorned with creepy, bloody markings, including tally marks on the handle, and the words, "You're next," written across the barrel. You'll also receive a challenge in the form of a notification. Put this revolver to good use and use it to absolutely eviscerate 50 human skulls. Once that's done, another notification will pop up saying that an exclusive weapon is now discoverable in Red Dead Online. But how do we discover this weapon in Red Dead? Well, if you find yourself in Valentine, Blackwater, Rhodes, or Strawberry near a church, you might happen upon this message. Can you find me? Looks familiar, right? Nearby, you'll also find another message that says, "What a fine piece of luck." Both messages can be found in all 4 towns. This one about luck is gibberish at first, until you realize that it's actually a reference to a particular location. Lucky's cabin, the old leveled house. Excuse me, the old leveled house that served as Edmund Lowry's hideout during the main story. The weapon is found near the entrance to the basement in this little box. And guess what? It's the exact same gun. And if we access the model for the gun in GTA, we can see that 100 years later, it's even still got Edmund's initials carved into the grip, along with the password that you as the player can use to enter his torture dungeon. That's not the only thing connecting the Los Santos slasher to Edmund Lowry. When you hunt down Edmund as part of the American Dreams mission, you will find these bodies accompanied by scraps of paper and a blood trail leading you to the next clue. Once you collect all 3 scraps of paper, they combine to reveal a map to the killer's location. On the back side of the map, though, can you find me? This suggests yet another connection between the Los Santos slasher and Edmund Lowry. But wait, in the last video, we already provided strong evidence suggesting some kind of connection between Edmund and the Infinity Killer, a whole other serial killer who hasn't even been active in San Andreas since the 90s, long before the events of GTA Online. This is getting messy. Let's lay it out. We have 5 separate instances of murder, which have strong evidence suggesting that they share a connection. In Red Dead 2, you investigate a serial killer named Edmund Lowry who hates joggers. In GTA 5, you can find, wrapped in plastic, the presumed victims of yet another murderer who hates joggers. The murder was pinned on Merle Abrahams and went cold, but I proposed that Merle was only the fall guy and the real killer was Eddie Lowe from GTA 4, who, as you know, hates joggers. Then there's the Los Santos slasher, also from GTA 5. The connection to Can You Find Me and Edmund Lowry's revolver make it pretty undeniable that this mystery is inseparable from the others. And now we come to those bodies in Cayo Perico in GTA Online. Once again, a group of 8, and once again, covered in plastic. On their own, I would probably say it's just a reused asset, and they were probably just bodies dropped off the cliff by El Rubio's goons. But with the Can You Find Me connection, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that all 5 of these murder mysteries are in some way related, tangled up in a web of mystery. In the last video, I put forward a theory that Edmund Lowry and Eddie Lowe are related genetically, and they come from a long line of serial killers. This explains both the similarity in their names, as well as their shared proclivities for deleting joggers. But now we come to the problem with my timeline. The Infinity murders happened way back in the 90s, which explains how Eddie ended up in Liberty City by 2008 when GTA 4 takes place. But the Los Santos slasher mystery is actively ongoing in GTA Online, long after Eddie Lowe's death. Looking through his blog posts and dialogue lines, which, by the way, if you want to see all of these, there's a great video by Fishy that goes over most of them. But anyway, looking through the blog posts and dialogue lines, I'm unable to find any evidence that Eddie had children at any point. In fact, he's specifically characterized as quite a solitary person, making his genes being passed on an unlikely scenario. And for that reason, I think we can pretty surely rule out my family tree theory from the first video. And honestly, that's as far as I've gotten. There's plenty more weird connections and pieces of evidence that I've found in my research, but they're all loose ends. If I kept going, I would just be throwing information at you with no real narrative thread to follow. For now, I'm satisfied with the fact that we've essentially proven a link between the murders of the following groups: the Blackwater Athletics team, Eddie Lowe's victims, the Infinite 8, the Los Santos Slashers victims, the Cayo Perico 8. But the question remains, what exactly is the connection? Is it a case of reincarnation? Time travel? Possession by an evil spirit? Is it simply multiple instances of copycat killings? Frankly, I got no damn clue. But hopefully this video will inspire folks to blow the dust off this mystery and start looking into the possibilities. I'm just some nerd, but we're so much more capable as a community. Please leave your ideas, thoughts, and theories in the comments. And let's get down to the bottom of this rabbit hole.